Hi, Lee Thurburn here, and I'm glad you're able to join us today as we talk more about business strategy and business success, tips and secrets, and all that kind of stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about strategy, and we're going to be talking about SWOT analysis. On Tuesday of this week, we talked about strengths and weaknesses, and today we're going to be talking about opportunities and threats. And then I think a real interesting way to be able to take those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats and come up with strategies that can actually help you improve your business. But before we get to that, I want to just make sure that you are invited to join our community. And our community is at livestreamlee.com. When you join, it is free to join. When you join, you get an account on the Apricot Rocket CRM and digital marketing system. It is kind of like having an account on Salesforce, Constant Contact, Shopify, and a whole bunch of other systems all wrapped into one. It is a wonderful tool and can help you grow your business. And there's something really cool that we just added. Have you ever thought how neat it would be to just be able to sit down at your computer and quickly send a little video note to somebody? Well, with Apricot Rocket, you can do that. So create an account, check it out, and let me know if you have any questions. Join my community at livestreamlee.com. Okay, so the Livestream program is a combination of strategy and business startup information. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we talk about strategy and competitive advantage and how to build one of those, a strategy and a competitive advantage. And today we're talking about the external environment. On Tuesday, we talked about the internal environment, which really fundamentally deals, there's a lot more to it than just strengths and weaknesses, but that's what we focused on Tuesday. And I decided to go ahead and focus on opportunities and threats today. So today we're going to talk about the external environment, but we're keeping our focus on the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats side, because I want to complete the concept of a SWOT analysis today. And then after we get done unpacking this a little bit, we're going to be joined by a friend of mine, Steve Mangum, who is an expert in basically marketing and management that is going to talk about this with us. So regarding the external environment, there are a number of things that are included when you do an external environment analysis, and opportunities and threats are part of it. But you also get involved in forecasting and opportunity or environmental scanning. These are aspects of just what the CEO or the chief officer of a company needs to be aware of what's going on in the market around them. We're going to talk about at a later point in time things like scenario planning and the different aspects of the general environment and the competitive environment. We're going to do a drill down on each one of these at a future time. And then we're going to talk about the concept of strategic groups. And all of these are aspects of the external environment that you can focus on to help position your company so that you can be a stronger competitor and build yourself a stronger competitive advantage. Today we're going to talk about opportunities and threats. And so first I need to give you a good solid definition of what an opportunity and a threat is. Now, if you remember on Tuesday, we talked about strengths and weaknesses, and strengths and weaknesses are internal factors. These are things that a company has some degree of control over. Opportunities and threats are external factors, and these are things that the company has little or no control over. Now, all of these things, strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, have a direct impact on the ability of the company to achieve its mission, goals, and objectives. And these are the things that basically the company uses to measure success. Now, strengths and weaknesses are basically internal factors that are either positive or negative, and opportunities and threats likewise are either positive factors or negative factors. Opportunities are positive factors that help a company, or actually more appropriately, that a company can exploit to be able to help it accomplish its mission, goals, and objectives. And threats are negative factors which get in the way of and inhibit a company from accomplishing its mission, goals, and objectives. So that's what we're going to be focusing on, the external factors that either help or inhibit a company in the accomplishment of its mission, goals, and objectives. Now, I thought it might be useful to prepare a list of opportunities and threats. And it's, I think, interesting that you can actually prepare one list of both, because things that are opportunities can also turn around and be threats. Really, it's just the positive or negative, the flip side of the thing. And one of the easiest ones to get your head around that everybody's going to easily understand is technology changes. Whatever business you're in, you have technology changes that confront you. If you're a really small business, the technology changes could be something as simple as some new social media platform coming out that you don't know how to benefit from, that your competitors figure out before you do, and it gives them a leg up on you in the market. So technology changes can either work for you or against you, and this is true of everything on this list. Competition is something outside of your business, and you might be in an industry with very little competitors. Good luck if you are, because that's awesome. Very few of us actually ever get into that blessed position. But most likely competition is increasing in your market, which I think is true in most markets. So the competitive environment is certainly something that you have to consider. Then there's changes in the market, demographics and psychographics and sociographics. I mean, these are all just fancy words for saying that the market is changing. And it could be something as simple as there's this global change going on now as a result of an increasingly older population in the United States, where elderly people that are over, say, 55 or 60, and I know if you're 55 or 60, you don't like the word elderly. I don't. But people that are older are coming back in the market or staying in the market longer as employees. And so that is causing things like younger people can't move up as fast. And it's similar to the women coming into the market in the 70s, 80s, and 90s as a major additional workforce that changed a lot of dynamics in the market. You have globalization. Almost every industry is to some degree impacted on an increasing degree of global cross-border competition that's become easier, largely because of the internet, but also transportation and logistics improvements. You have regulations that change in whatever country that you're in, and you have offshoring and outsourcing opportunities. This is kind of a subset of globalization, but a specific thing that you would look at. And then, your industry, whatever industry you're in, either the products that you have or the industry itself, often has a life cycle. The stages of introduction and maturity or growth, and then maturity, and then decline. And how you compete is going to potentially change, both regarding your products and the product life cycle, as well as the industry that you're in and what stage of the life cycle that you might be in. Now, these are all things that we can take a deeper dive at a later point in time, but other factors that affect your business that are either opportunities or threats, there's all kinds of special interest groups out there that are arising. And because of the internet and the social platforms that exist, they're having a more vocal presence in the business environment. You have stakeholders, everything from the community at large, which is also sort of a subset of special interest groups, or there's a relationship there. You have shareholders and employees and suppliers. All of these factors can have an influence on you, and they're in many respects outside of your control. Environmental changes. I think about things like the COVID. I mean, I think of that as an environmental change. Now, some of you might think of that as a natural disaster. I don't know really which it is. Certainly, earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes are natural disasters, but I kind of think of COVID and that kind of thing as an environmental change. But whether it could be rising waters because of the warming of the earth, or if you even believe in that, which a lot of people don't. Bottom line is all of these things impact natural disasters, urban violence, political risks. All of these things are part of the realm of the external environment. They're opportunities or threats, depending upon kind of which side you can position your company on, and how you're going to be able to take advantage of them, or how they're going to impact your business. And so I thought I would take just a brief, little bit deeper dive and look at an example of a hypothetical SWOT analysis. Now, I'm just going to list for a company that, say, is a donut company, and that's the model that I'm going after here, a donut company that is assessing its strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. And I'm just going to focus on two things. So let's say your hypothetical donut company has seen product demand go up by 7% in the last year. Generally speaking, that's a good thing to have happen. And you successfully introduced, say, 6 new products last year. That's also a strength. Having new products is a good thing. Weaknesses could very well be that your demand is now exceeding your capacity, so you don't have the ability to satisfy as much of the market demand as there is, and so you have a capacity constraint. So that would be a weakness. You might have low employee morale for any number of reasons, but let's just say that you do. You have low employee morale, so you need to address that. That obviously affects productivity and product quality. You have a market that is desiring greater health options, okay? So this is an opportunity, a market opportunity where the market is looking for greater health options, and you also have 2 major competitors leaving the market. So this represents an opportunity in many respects. Then you have threats. You serve a lot of sugary drinks, and so sugary drink consumption, in the general American U.S. market is down, and your healthcare insurance costs are rising, as are everybody's. So that might be sort of your basic SWOT layout. So you have the opportunity now to look at this and combine a variety of different opportunities and strengths and so on. So rather than show you and talk about the lower portion, I'm going to actually pop up a grid that is kind of a traditional way of looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So here you have a 4-quadrant grid. On the top, you have strengths and weaknesses, and on the lower portion, you have opportunities and threats. And you just simply list them out. Now, a very traditional way of doing a SWOT analysis is literally to fill in the quadrants, list your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, kind of in bullet format. And then down below, you go through a more detailed, maybe a sentence or 2 of additional description. Now, the purpose of this is to give you a structure in your thought process on how to analyze the business and determine whether or not you need to make adjustments or can make adjustments somewhere. And this, again, this traditional layout is helpful, but there's an enhancement to that you can layer in, and that's the diagram or the graphic that I have showing now. And here you add a couple of it, or you add an additional row and an additional column, and you put your strengths and weaknesses across the top and your opportunities and threats down the side. And then you try to match them up. And for example, you might say, I have a strength where my general demand is up, and there is a demand for healthier products in the marketplace. So I might be able to eliminate artificial dyes and increase my non-GMO offerings and reduce my sugar to tap into an interest in both a healthy market and the increasing market demand. So I can use my R&D department to come up with new products that match a market interest. In terms of weaknesses and opportunities, so a WO strategy, weakness opportunity strategy, would say, if I have insufficient production capacity and I have competitors that are leaving the market, maybe I could acquire some of my competitors' facilities to increase my production capacity. And so you see what I'm doing? I'm matching strengths with threats and strengths with weaknesses. Like a strength-threat matchup could be that I have a good, solid R&D department that can produce new departments and or new products, and there's a interest in sugary drink. The demand for sugary drinks is declining. So I might come out with a new set of products that are going to fill this demand for less sugary drinks. and so on. So using this layout, it gives you the ability to kind of match up the different components: strengths with opportunities, weaknesses with opportunities, strengths with threats, and weaknesses with threats. And it gives you kind of a format for analyzing the market. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every strength and every opportunity are going to match up. You may very well have some strengths or weaknesses and opportunities or threats that are not matched, but this gives you a model, a layout, a template for helping you to look for ways that you can adjust your strategy in the market. So I thought you might enjoy that. And now we're going to bring in our guest, Steve Mangum. But first, I want to introduce Steve. Steve's a friend of mine I've known for about 5 or 6, 7 years, a long time now, long enough to where I've kind of forgotten how long I know him. And I consider Steve to be a genius, a guru in the realm of marketing in particular. He's good at management as well, but he's really, I look to Steve a lot for marketing assistance. And Steve has a company called Living Well Marketing. You can find him at livingwellmarketing.com. And I'm going to ask Steve to join us now. So with a little luck, we're getting Steve to join. I'm going to take off the placard so you can actually see Steve. Hey, Steve, how's it going today, sir?
Hey, Lee, it's great to be here. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. Steve, SWOT analysis is something that is, kind of a fundamental concept, but not everybody uses it. When you engage a new client to help them in marketing or management advice, I know you do both. Do you go through a SWOT analysis process? What does your learning curve look like? How do you approach figuring out where you're at so that you can decide what to do?
Okay, well, thanks for the question. That's a great question. I specialize in the front end, the buyer's journey and the buyer's experience of your product or service. So everything from how they find out about you to doing business with you. That's really my specialty. However, all of that is impacted by what's going on inside the company. Yes, you were talking about everything on there that's a weakness is also an opportunity. So it depends on your point of view. It might be right now it's a weakness, but if we solve that, it's an opportunity. So
do you have a formal process that you apply, or does your process vary? I mean, I know a lot of people are a little more kind of intuitively oriented, and others are more process oriented. So what does your process look like when you engage with a new client?
Well, I start looking at first with the outside part, the marketing. What is their branding? What is their position? What is their message? And I look for the flow that the client would go through in getting the business to the company. Because if you don't get it there, then the rest really doesn't matter. If you don't have any sales going on, doesn't matter what your processes inside look like, because you're not going to make any money. Right. So I start with that, and I look for the strengths and weaknesses out in the market. So, and in the messaging and in the different stages, I guess, that the message the client would go through in considering your product or service up to when they actually purchase.
Are there any particular metrics that are common across different businesses that you pay particular attention to give you a sense of where you need to focus your efforts?
Yeah, there's 5 metrics that involve like taking a client from being a lead. What is your message that gets them in as a lead, or your methodology? And then turning that lead into a connection, some sort of either over the internet or a personal connection, like a meeting and a presentation, and then converting that into sales. And then there's 2 other metrics, or 3 other metrics, I suppose. One is, what's the size of that ticket? What's the size of the sale? And is there opportunities for upsell? What are your competitors doing in terms of that offering and upsell? Where are you branded, position, price? How do you compete? And then it's the size of that sale, how competitive you are, And then there's the margin. Your margin. What kind of margin do you have on your product or your service? If you can increase those 5 things just 20%, you more than double your profitability.
So do you actually engage in a formal break-even analysis? You talked about things like margin, and when I hear margin, I think break-even analysis. Do you ever kind of go through the math? Do you need to look at financials? I mean, give me a little deeper dive into your process, if you would, please.
Okay, so I look at the margins, and are they relative? What are they relative to your competitors primarily? If you got better margins, you're going to win, because if there's a price war or some upset in the market and the price starts eroding, well, they're out of money before you are. So, and on the flip side of that is, the more your margin is, the more you can pay to acquire a client. So it's called customer acquisition cost. So if you have better margins or a larger ticket than your clients, a larger dollar amount, you can pay more per client. So, and a lot of that has to do with upselling and retention. Do your clients actually refer business back to you?
So go ahead.
Yeah, one thing about that, there's this sales funnel. You hear this notion of a sales funnel, and I don't. I use that framing to a degree, but sales funnel means that after they buy, they're gone. So I've learned HubSpot, some other people have it's a buyer's wheel, not a funnel, because once they're a customer, they're a referral and a new customer around the wheel. So it just keeps rotating. You maintain your energy. And sales and money is all about energy.
What are the most common weaknesses that you encounter with the clients that engage you? What do you see as the area that companies need the most help in?
Wow, I think getting leads, of course, is the problem, but there's a problem within that problem. It's generally their unique selling proposition isn't unique anymore, because in today's world, if you have something that's selling like crazy, everybody knows about it, and then they take your uniqueness away. So it's, how do you compete and stay unique without just being a commodity? You can't say I've got great service because everybody's saying I got great service.
What you're really describing, I think of as a competitive advantage that has expired. You know, I mean, I got into the Quiznos toasted sub sandwich business back in 2000, opened a couple of restaurants. And at the time, Quiznos was the only company that I could find that had a toasted sub sandwich. Now, of course, pretty much everybody has a toasted sub sandwich as an option. So Quiznos had an advantage, but it wasn't sustainable. It was, in fact, for a while significant, because it actually, a lot of people would come to Quiznos because it was the only place they could get a toasted sandwich. So it was a significant but not sustainable advantage. And so I think the solution that companies really need to be striving towards is constantly refreshing their uniqueness. And you just, I think, hit on a really good subject, which is the fact that if you have a unique selling proposition, but you're not doing something to maintain a uniqueness, then you're going to get caught up and maybe even passed behind or passed by your competitors. So how do you address trying to help your clients? We've got about 2 minutes left. How do you address helping your clients establish a new, more powerful, more unique position?
Well, often, let's take service. Say, I've got great service, and that becomes a commodity. All your competitors have great service. You can recontextualize, well, what type of great service? For example, Federal Express had the same problem with UPS and United States Post Office and whoever, right? So they had that problem. Everybody was saying great service, and then they came up with the slogan when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. So they unique the service instead of the company. They unique the and once that they claim that and they have that advertised, every time they hear that, it's attributed back to Federal Express. Nobody else could really, claim it after that because it looked silly, right? And they took the market. So that's one thing. The other thing is just know that if there's a low barrier of entry or it's easy to duplicate, like toasted sandwiches, it's easy to duplicate. You stick an oven in there, and now you're competing with Quiznos, right? So it's a great offering, but it's short-lived. The harder it is to enter the market or to duplicate your uniqueness is the ideal, uniqueness for it. So.
Right. So thank you, Steve. Building a sustainable competitive advantage often involves innovation and creativity, maybe even the development of some unique intellectual property that might be able to be copyrighted or patented or in some way, shape, or form trademarked so that you can protect that unique, in Steve's case, he's talking about unique positioning or contextualization. So and this is one of the things I run into so much is so many people, you ask them, well, what makes you different? Oh, we give great service. And every time I hear somebody go, oh, we give great service, I think to myself, yeah, but that's not going to be something that is protectable. You can't build a barrier, a moat, a fence around and protect your business with great service because anybody that really wants to can offer great service. They just have to want to bad enough. Steve, thanks for joining us. I appreciate your time. I'll look forward to seeing you again. And folks, I'm going to put another graphic of Steve back up in case you want to reach out to him. Just go to livingwellmarketing.com or give him a call. His number's on the screen. And, I'm sure Steve will be glad to visit with you and maybe have a chat and help you figure out how to make your business grow faster. Steve, thanks a bunch. See you soon.
Thanks a lot.
All right, so cut Steve off a little faster than I meant to there, but all right, so I'm going to go ahead and come back and invite you again to, I got to click on still kind of navigating all these little graphics that we got here. Livestreamlee.com is designed to be a way for you to be able to get some good information about some strategic or growth tips that'll help you grow your business. At livestreamlee.com, when you join our community, you have access to our private members only area where you will be able to get access to slide decks and worksheets and other things that I think you'll find useful and helpful to be able to grow your business. So if you have not already done so, please visit livestreamlee.com. Tomorrow, we're going to be visiting with another entrepreneur. Fridays are the entrepreneur interview day. And tomorrow we have Randall Mills. Randall is the CEO of the telemedicine company, 24hourphysicians.com. And they are a part of an industry that is just blowing up right now. With COVID and all that kind of stuff, a lot of doctors' offices had really, for a long time, really restricted, how many patients. I mean, bottom line is because so many sick people go into the doctor's office, they have to be extra careful with social distancing. And so a lot of people are wanting to get doctor visits over the phone. And that's what 24-hour physicians and the whole telemedicine industry is focused on. And Randall is going to share his journey of building his company and share some experiences and give some tips about what it's like to be in his industry. So join us tomorrow at 3:00 as we talk to Randall Mills. And please share this live stream with your audience and invite people. We do this every day at 3:00, Monday through Friday, for 30 minutes. So next week, we'll see you back. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll see you back at 3:00, Monday through Friday. Thank you very much for joining us. And again, visit livestreamlee.com and join our community. See you tomorrow. Bye.